Aren't you just excited for the new Sonic movie?
Oh yeah.
Those eyes.
Yeah,
those human teeth.
Those human teeth.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to make a joke, but I realized it's not the type of joke that I should be making for the beginning of the podcast, which we're in. Hello, welcome to the beginning of the Tilted Roll podcast. Yeah, it was going to be totally inappropriate and not something I want to use for podcasts.
So
save that for the
after hour show, which totally exists.
Maybe one day
Maybe
we'll have
one day.
Tilted Roll podcast after hours, adults only.
Adult Swim. Oh wait, that's copyrighted.
Ooh.
My name is Francisco.
My name is Marshall. We're going to talk about things that actually no wait. Damn it! Everything we talk about is copywritten. How are we a show? No, we're going to be talking about more. Well, really, this could be somewhat applied to many, really any RPG that has some type of challenge system. But we're going to be talking about encounters, kind of building them, setting them up. Maybe if you want to understand slightly the challenge rating system, Francisco has done
Extensive research.
He has tireless research. He is ready to go. And thus, we will begin, though. First was just the idea. What's an encounter?
Well, Marshall, an encounter is the things you throw at players to make them...
I thought it was when a mommy and a daddy are wrestling in the bed.
That could be it.
It could be.
Your players
roll initiative.
Your players could just walk into a couple of...
Your mom and dad roll for initiative.
And whoever goes first
Mom was
automatically
definitely
gets top.
feeling more dexterous that day.
And Dad kept failing all his saves, and that's how you were born. Welcome to the Tilted Roll podcast after
God.
hours. My name is Francisco.
Oh my God. What an amazing start. Man, we're feeling it this week.
Yes,
we had
we
an
are.
energetic episode of Dark Matter.
Man, it's oh my God. Well, to be
It's been
fair,
a strong week.
Yeah, the thing he rolled for the natural one chart fit perfectly for Jade.
Oh, you mean for Bennett?
Yeah. Oh, that and then Bennett too.
Yeah. Oh, well, Jade's. Yes. Jade's was perfect. He was. If you missed the episode, I won't spoil everything, but obviously the part of our show and all the shows we do are like all the campaign shows we do with our name is natural one.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you roll a natural one, we have a little fun critical fail chart, which I'm still working on our actual nat one critical fail chart when I have time.
Yes.
But the one we are currently using from I think it's like D&D Genie. I forget the name of the actual people that made it. There's one so that when whenever you talk, you must talk in rhyme or take damage. And we have a player that exclusively almost speaks in rhyme. So really, it just was meant to be.
It is. It was fantastic.
But then at the same time, something happened to Bennett's character. What that is, I'll let you decide. Go check out the VOD.
But yeah, funny enough, in last session, we had several interesting encounters.
Yes, and there was a way that you can kind of denote your encounter. So obviously, as you jokingly said initially, it's the things you throw at your players to let them die.
Well, in reality, they're just different things that could either continue a story or something that will keep the player's interest in a campaign.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple uses of the encounter itself, because some people are entirely driven by combat, especially those who played a lot of video games, discovered eventually the joy of tabletop. But I don't know what that was. There's some weird.
That's me.
Oh. Interesting.
That
wasn't a problem before. That's why it's weird. But anyway, sorry about that. But yeah, so those who kind of start in video games are usually a lot more penitent to kind of want to continue combat. Obviously, there's the idea of the minion mobbing that happens in a lot of video games, especially fantasy video games, where it's pretty easy to you kind of go through a lot and breeze through a lot of encounters. But there are obviously downsides to those as well. But that is kind of something that is used a lot for encounters, or maybe can depend on your frequency.
Oh, yeah. And then on the other side of the coin, there's also social encounters.
Yeah.
Just if, say, in a Telltale game, that moment where you have to choose where to go to this to save this person or to
Shoot your dog.
Yeah, or to shoot your dog.
Old Yeller never was the same.
No, he never was because he was dead.
Spoilers for that, I think, over 100-year-old book.
Yeah, about 50-year-old movie. But it's in D&D, it could be something more drawn out. Just if they don't succeed on this social encounter, they might not have support for a later boss fight, or they might antagonize the wrong person, which will make their campaign a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
So
and I
with
mean,
that-
you can kind of introduce. I mean, obviously, generally, it's pretty easy to introduce a combat encounter,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Somebody shoots an arrow at you. Somebody swipes at you with their sword, right? There's usually some type of violent action, and that's obviously going to relate to combat because combat is violent. That's the way it is. But in terms of the social encounter, those can be a little more tricky to implement. Obviously, though, one of the really simple ways you can kind of do that is, if somebody is like in an interrogation type situation, right?
Yes.
The guards have captured your party and they're asking your like leader or maybe even a couple of you, certain questions, and they're kind of giving you the hard ball. Generally, you can think of an encounter as anytime you're expecting and forcing your players to roll dice. That's kind of a good way to potentially look at how you're setting it up. Are you going to make that they're going to have to do a lot of deception or insight or anything type of rolls for their skills? Then that is inherently a social encounter.
Pretty much. Like, to give an example, saying your players are in the shop and they're shopping for, say, it's a cloak of protection, costs about 600 gold pieces, and they're trying to negotiate the price down to 450. First person rolls to persuasion and fails. Next person would roll, but next person is trying, but the DC is now higher. Contrast, if they succeed, they can lower it down, but it could also be that the next person can try to lessen the price, and the DC is still there, or even becomes lower, or they roll with advantage. It's stuff like that you can not influence, but put into place with these social encounters that you have.
Here, give us a moment. I'm going to actually fix something here. So ready? 1, 2, and we're back. Wow.
Hello.
So yeah.
It's been so long.
No, yeah. So
I was
definitely
afraid.
there's a.
Sorry.
So obviously, and then generally, kind of once you get to the end of that encounter, there a lot of times, depending on how you're running the campaign, you can potentially give rewards.
Yes.
It's really easy in the book. Like if you just look at the monster manual or really or even the player's handbook, if you see like a lot of the encounters or like baseline encounters that are put into the game, you'll see a lot of something like maybe, experience that you can give. So this monster gives this much experience.
Yes.
But one thing that does kind of, I think, that can be hard. Hola. It's okay. I told John, but obviously that doesn't relate to everybody. But one of the things that obviously isn't so cut and dry is how do you kind of reward players for going through a social encounter? And it's because there's not like, you fooled the guards, gain 20 XP.
I know a lot of people, depending on the social encounter, a lot of them just award the amount of XP they would have won with a easy encounter.
Yeah. And it can be dependent on kind of how you think of it as a DM.
Oh, yeah.
Like it definitely doesn't have to be super cut and dry, like always easy. Like it always is because some social encounters can be very hard or could be really creative, and you want to give that extra award for maybe that amount of creativity more than maybe just the inspiration dice.
Right. To put in perspective, it's trying to convince a guard that the criminal actually went that way when in reality your rogue's behind you, or trying to convince a king that you guys aren't in the wrong and you shouldn't be executed the next day.
That, or even going further and showcasing how you are the chosen ones, even though you actually murked all of the chosen ones on the way in by accident by running them over with your horses.
Yes.
They just got in the way. I'm sorry. They were there.
But now that we're here, let's discuss terms.
Yeah. We're the chosen ones now.
Yes.
Look at me. We're the chosen ones now. But that's the thing is you can reward them for that fact, being able to kind of get away with certain things or just doing something really well in a social encounter.
And also, social encounters can also delve into dungeons and such, like puzzles.
Yeah.
That in of itself can be an encounter as well, or is technically considered an encounter, I should say.
Yeah.
If they solve a really difficult puzzle that you were certain that they couldn't figure out, but they said that there's 11 letters in the alphabet and they were correct, and there is.
Yeah, and you will actually see in a number of adventure books that they'll have if they solve this puzzle, give them this much XP.
If they avoid this trap, give them this much.
Right,
XP.
and you'll see that in a lot of the adventure books, and that actually can be very helpful. I think even every now and then you'll see one for a social situation, like if they avoid the fight, they can get a certain amount of XP or something. And obviously by killing them or fighting them, they could also gain more XP, but they will also denote, and sometimes if they avoid the confrontation physically, they can and they were squirt around it, then they can at least actually get still some reward. Now, obviously, if you're running a milestone system, it's entirely different.
Right.
The XP part doesn't matter. It's all about really kind of what you're gauging as their ability to level up anyway. So then it comes up to you how you want to reward them. For example, we're running a milestone system in Dark Matter right now, and my main way of kind of rewarding them is by either, eventually giving them certain information, or kind of, allowing them certain passes through certain things. So, and obviously, I kind of keep those notes close to the cuff, but it's just kind of my way of kind of rewarding them by, not making sure that they stay on, they can keep furthering their progress. The more and more that they verge, it kind of means that they failed certain things that I wanted them to succeed at or whatnot. And it's not punishments, you don't have to punish them for failing at something, but it's just more of, you're changing the way you allow their progression. Because if you think of milestone, you can think when they reach this objective, they will gain a level.
Yes.
So if you feel like they're not passing some of your challenges, then you can slow their progression so they don't get to that milestone right as fast. Whereas if they're doing really good, you want to keep pushing them, and you want to get they're doing really good. They're doing a lot of on task stuff. They're not getting distracted. In party fighting. I know, crazy idea.
Right.
That's a myth, but if it does happen, you could just streamline them right to that level.
That's true. But of course, you might be wondering, how do you balance out an encounter? Say if you're in a combat sense, what enemies do you throw? Do you automatically just grab the
pick
Tarrasque?
up your mic? I think it being on the table is what's making the static.
Got it. All right. Does throwing the Tarrasque at them immediately at level 1 work, or?
Okay, hold on. There you go.
There we go.
Man, I'm really gonna have to edit this one now. That sucks.
Hello, me.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, is throwing a Tarrasque at them at level 1 the proper thing to do? Or maybe throwing them a goblin at level 20.
Yeah, or a black dragon. I don't know.
Right.
What would do that?
Those were different times.
I mean, to be fair, at least that was related to some type of critical fail chart. That really wasn't related to your decision.
No.
You're you failed this, or you did too well on this encounter. Black dragon. We're level 1. I don't care.
You guys would have had it too.
You purely were just going under the realm of oh, you rolled on this chart. That's really unfortunate. So, I mean, and sometimes those things just happen if you're playing, really a type of game that we play on our stream all the time. But otherwise, for your planned encounters.
Yes. But, so you're balancing something. And Wizards of the Coast implemented the challenge rating system in their games. And
that's been around for quite a long time now.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if it's been there since the beginning, because I don't actually remember. I really haven't looked at the old books, pre-second edition.
I want to say yes.
Much at all.
I feel like I just saw a AD&D book the other day, and I feel like I saw challenge rating.
Yeah, likely they fine-tuned it a lot. There are probably a lot of inconsistencies over the editions. That have existed between how challenge ratings kind of are calculated. But obviously we can attest to how it's calculated now a little better.
So now it's practically, welcome to Professor Bino's mathematical hour, brought to you by Natural One RPG and like Geneva Games. But, so encounters, how do you calculate them? Well, let's use a example. You have 4 level 1 adventurers. Count them 4. Consider each one worth 50 experience points. It's why a CR1 creature is worth 100 or 200 experience points. Now, say they are level 2. They gain a level. All you're doing is you're multiplying that 50 by 2. Really simple once you say it out loud.
Yeah.
And then that means those 4.
But what when they're level 3? Multiply by 3.
So you have that. You have those four adventurers, and they're level 2. So their total would be 400 hit points, or not hit points, experience points.
Yeah.
And now many people would think, okay, I just need to find one creature that has 400 experience points as their challenge rating, because in the books it has challenge rating and then how much experience points they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can just add monsters that will equal to that amount. And those are usually for medium encounters.
Right.
So if you want to go for easy, you just go the last level. If you want to go for hard, you go for the next level. If you go for deadly, you go for the level after that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and whether or not to choose like medium, hard, or deadly is very dependent really on kind of what type of characters you kind of tend to be running and how well they generally tend to go through encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, I have never found a medium encounter to ever last a long time. And if you want to have fast encounters, totally fine. But I don't know. It's something with the way that 5e is. Encounters just do not last that long, generally. And partly maybe is it due to like maybe not fully, working with the encounter, but even when I've used like programs to help with like encounters or build encounters, it just never lasts long. They're generally very short encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think there's a lot of extra power in 5e, and that kind of really I think helps set that tone for a lot of the way that you can kind of build encounters. So generally I do usually push into that hard or deadly area because that's generally when you start to see actual challenge.
Right. But what the challenge rating system does not take into account is the cleverness of the DM. Because any person can say the troll slashes at you and does this amount of damage. But an intellectual
me, an intellectual,
yes, would say the beholder at the end of the hall looks at all your spellcasters and laughs because of the anti-magic field cone that looks down.
Well, a troll is very different than a beholder. You're using two entirely different encounters.
I know. But that's it's part of my example. One, you're just attacking by regular. Yeah, trolls are known to ambush because they're solitary creatures. They can go. They would make use of the environment. They can take cover if they're getting pretty much swarmed by everybody. It's very for fights. Not many people stand around and just swing at each other. Oh, hold on. We have
an opinion from the audience.
Forgetting the worst part about trolls is they regenerate. Like one of the main things that they do. You forgot in your analogy.
You forgot the part where it's like you attack the troll. The cut heals itself.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Our resident troll, ironically enough.
But, I mean, so that is something, though, I think you're kind of starting to get into, which is the real necessity to prepare your encounters.
Yes.
Now, obviously, there are some cases where maybe if you're like, I guess they just decided to attack this thing. All right, let's just roll with it. Then maybe you're not fully expecting an encounter. But for the most part, if you know that you're planning like a boss fight or an encounter, like you should really plan for it. Mm-hmm. Throw your party off guard. Have some layer actions. Make the entirety of the arena they're in shift.
Yeah. By the
walls grow into different ways.
Use cover.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't incorporate cover too much. They just kind of try to mound on top of a creature.
It's free AC.
It is.
Use cover.
But it doesn't help when you're a melee party.
That's fair.
So, but the ranged people out there, cover. It's your option.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an artificer, you got those turrets. If you're the artillerist, free cover, baby. They do. I think it's level 10. They give you half cover. If you're within 10 feet.
Yeah.
That's 10 feet.
DMs.
You could hit a creature, have your turret 10 feet from you, and you're still in cover.
Yes. DMs, this goes to you, especially ones with the Motohover parties. Guards with cover are very deadly, especially with heavy crossbows.
Yeah. Well, especially early on. Like, if you're... Because obviously, like, to a level 14 party, if you think of, like, a normal town guard, then they're... Even at half cover, there's just going to be, like... Mosquito has poked at me. Whereas at least earlier it is a little more threatening. Though if you have like this high caliber, like we are the honor guard, and they're like crazy high, like CR, like you make them player level like 14, same as your players, then obviously maybe it's a little more threatening.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to do
especially if there's more than one. Then it's really threatening.
And then they know how to incorporate off of each other. Like if your enemy...
Again, plan for your encounters.
Yes, plan for your encounters. Because if you use flanking, as well as the players do, then they're going to be in for a tough time.
Now, this isn't to say that you should always make all of your encounters like multiple creatures.
Yes.
Obviously, one of the big things that comes into it is kind of the idea of the boss creature. And a lot of times when you kind of want to have a boss creature, a lot of times at least will inevitably get to one, or like because either all of its minions die, and because the fodder has been taken before at the start of the fight, or at least you're just trying to, maybe thematically you just wanted them to fight one creature, which can work fine, but there's definitely kind of some ways you can almost help yourself. Well, yeah, and it depends on what your group is, but like. Pretty much everything we say is dependent on your group when it comes to encounters.
Yes.
What we could say like, yeah, trolls regenerating, super cool. But if it's against a party that all knows chill touch, that regeneration doesn't mean anything.
Or fireball.
Right, and as we noted that earlier, yeah, that every CR is kind of based on the idea of your 4-person party. Yep. But like obviously, and that's why everything kind of has to be taken with like this idea of like how many people do you have in your group, or at least in the encounter, and then that you plan to have in the encounter, and then just going from and calculating from there. Whereas at least kind of like I was saying, so for the boss, obviously then if you're basing that CR off of the four player person, but you have 5.
Right.
What'd you say?
Boss.
Oh, boss. No, the
never forget.
Never forget. But yeah, no, so kind of getting into the solo boss, there are different ways that you can kind of help yourself, especially if it is a group of more than 5. One of the big ways that I know I've kind of seen a number of DMs do it is the kind of solo boss rules that have kind of come around.
Oh yeah, I've
which
seen
is
them.
The idea of like essentially giving them more turns. So you only have one creature, but there's a party of 6. Obviously, if it's, if you have a party they're all level 10, a CR 10 creature is only good if there were 4 of them, and that's at a medium difficulty setting, right? So then the idea is, well, how do I bump, kind of maybe either help bump them up or give a CR 12 creature, which is, depending on your party again, maybe just pushing kind of towards the deadly realm, making them that extra oomph so they're not just surrounded by your party. It's just like, let's just circle him. He can't move anywhere then. Just keep batting him with sticks. Like, if you give them an extra turn, if they have something that maybe gives them immobility, or like, they can teleport, or they can, get out of dodge, a little easier. They have ways of disengaging. Then, they have that extra turn to kind of be able to do that. And then a different turn to either do damage or to give themselves some type of challenge.
Yes. Funny enough, I actually used that rule a good while ago during GaryCon when I was DMing for a bunch of people. One of the encounters was that beholder at the end of the hallway. That beholder had 3 moves, or 3 turns during the round. First, I was using the rules that I read. I don't remember where I saw it, but the first turn, it could do its regular movement and everything just fine. Second
it's
turn,
a full turn.
Yeah, second turn was only an action. I want to say half its movement.
Yeah, half a turn.
And then third turn was only the action. and doing after that, and it felt like a boss fight for them because man, they could not get to the other end of the hall. At the end of the day, the cleric died.
Anti-magic, man.
Yeah, the cleric
Really slows you down sometimes.
but yeah, it was good times. But it works. I just want to say it works.
Yeah, it really. I mean, having the multiple turns really can help. Like especially if you have a history. Like if your party has a history of just clowning on bosses, you just you try going deadlier and deadlier, and for some reason they just keep slapping them around. Giving them those extra turns can definitely kind of give you a little bit extra oomph and a little bit more threat.
Well, let's go to our audience. What would you like to say, John?
Also, just add a measure of difficulty. You could just change up the tactic of a creature, like dragons.
Right.
There should never be a reason if you want them to have a fight that dragon is landing to hit them. The dragon can fly and can legendary action fly.
Yeah.
Sure, they'll complain the dragon's always in the air breathing fire at them, but guess what? It's a dragon. It's what they do. Same with like Balors, angels, and other demons. They can teleport as a legendary action.
Yeah.
We've surrounded it, and now it's gone.
Right, exactly. There are I mean, obviously, like knowing the creature you're putting in is like really important. But like obviously, when speaking in like a very general sense, we're kind of just getting to that like level of like, really plan for the encounter that you're going to get. If you do need a wild encounter out of nowhere, there are certain like apps that do exist. One of the ones I've actually used a lot, at least I just know it. This is what it's called on Android, which is 5e Companion. The reason I like it a lot is because it has a pretty full monster list on it, and you can, it's really easy just to add your party to kind of give a soft. Don't open rooster teeth. Stop it. All right, to give kind of that like soft setting, so it kind of roughly knows what your party's CR would be about, right? It knows your party's level, and obviously, and then it kind of takes into incorporation their passive perception and their AC.
Yeah.
It kind of uses that to kind of semi-determine. Is it perfect? No, but is it good for kind of drumming up a very quick, encounter?
No.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Yes.
For example, in our last episode before this recording, they fought a, kind of a, I would say just a decently CR'd, I never pronounced them right. Yuan-Ti.
Yeah, it's a Yuan-Ti.
Yuan-Ti, yeah. It wasn't a pureblood. It started with an M, like Malachar.
Melicin.
Oh yeah,
Melicin.
And that was, and so obviously like it had a number of traits that helped it kind of do a lot of damage to the party. And it wasn't while it wasn't the like most dangerous encounter where like, it was like one person was left and they saved the day. It kept knocking at least one person down.
Oh yeah.
So because that bite and poison damage, that will knock them out, especially at level 2.
Use poison.
So, but I mean, that was the thing. It was also one creature, and it set it up as one creature. So while I set it up as a deadly encounter because generally, especially in a lot of the campaigns I run, I do tend to give, like the way I have you guys roll stats, I usually tend to notice that there's a strong kind of power level towards the players.
Yes.
But that way I can kind of set up encounters to also be really fun and have fun creatures that will absolutely destroy you if you're not careful. If you get really full of yourself, you'll get knocked flat.
Oh yeah, I remember the purple worm.
Ah yes, the purple worm. Although it was metal, technically. It just had the stats of a purple worm
And
then added worm. And had certain additional stats.
Yeah, I grabbed the metal hat and got that power up.
Wait. I'm trying to remember I don't even know what are you talking about with the metal hat? Is that one made up, or is that actually something you were trying to reference?
It's Mario, man.
Oh, that reference came out of nowhere.
That's most of my references.
Yes. But yeah, so that if you're ever looking for like if you don't really have time to plan an encounter, there are a number of apps out there. That one is the one I recommend the most. I don't know if there's any that you know of.
None that I can think of right now. Oh, Kobold Fight Club. That's a good website, not an app, but it's a website.
Yeah.
I used it in the past. I don't use it anymore just because I'm too lazy to put everything in, but it is in there.
Are you saying the back of the book?
Also, most of the books do have all the.
Oh yeah, Xanathars has a
yeah.
good setup for it.
Oh, yeah.
One that's a little that one that I'd say is not as fast. There's somewhat, but I'm just saying, like, if you just wanted to pull out your phone, 2 seconds, make an encounter, it's relative. There are apps that help with that, huh?
Also, they're not all fights; they're just events that can also happen.
That's
Right,
true.
and so Xanathars though is a good resource for just encounters in general, because it does give you a lot of tools for it.
Not to mention, 2-1 Annihilation had a very similar system.
Yeah,
And that we had a lot of fun with that.
yeah.
That's how the party I was doing for AL killed a young red dragon in one turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and D&D Beyond is soon going to be getting an encounter builder. I have no review of that because obviously it's not out yet.
Yeah, I went with beta.
but I'll
test.
definitely be testing it
Yeah.
when it launches.
So, what's the end note for this thing?
I mean, I was gonna say, otherwise, just really the big thing about encounters is no matter what, if you can really plan for them, know the creatures you're putting into it, know your party, and plan for those two things. Let the creature be the creature. Don't just get so hung up on like, I need to hit them. I have to hit them. Like that, the creature's abilities could indefinitely make more of a struggle than just purely hitting them every turn.
And above all, use acid. Not many creatures are immune to acid. It does damage. No, rarely anybody. Even the Tarrasque's not immune to acid. Use acid. It will work, and you will do a lot of great things with it. That's all.
All right. One outburst later.
What about the clay golem that absorbs acid?
Listen, bitch.
That's one. There are many creatures in D&D. Also, clearly, Franny is talking from a player perspective.
Yes, use acid.
But that'll be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Again, a very energetic episode.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
Came in hot, and then the audience participation was also coming in swift.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you
for being John.
All right, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.